Hello and welcome to the platform and core team reviews, development updates. My name is Balázs and we are here with the platform and core teams from DCG. And we are here to talk about the advancements, the updates from the past 2 weeks. All of this in a 1-hour session. And we will have a dedicated Q&A session at the end, so please feel free to raise your questions, raise your comments, feel free to ask anything, and please include the context in your question, so at the end we will know what you mean by a certain question. So, without further ado, let's just jump in. Let us start with Sam with a summary.
Yep, quick summary of what happened in the last 2 weeks. We're continuing to work on versioning. It made great strides. We started about 2 weeks ago with about 50,000 lines of code written in versioning, and we're approaching close to 100,000 right now. It's very close to being done. I thought that we could potentially get it done by the update today. However, there's just a few things that aren't done, and we'll go over that in detail at the end when we get around to versioning. That was mostly worked on by me, and Ivan and Dima helped out in the last few days because it's been a lot less. It's been very straightforward to figure out what to do. We just basically have to fix bugs in the last few days. It's the structure is all there. So thank them for their help. So, and then we have Dima and Wisdom that have been working on state sync. There's been a lot of progress there. It's very exciting. We're going to probably have state sync done quite soon, actually. And the Rust SDK as well. Rust SDK to make things a lot easier for the mobile teams, so they can easily import all the features of platform without having to do double work. Anton's been working on Masternode voting. He'll have a good update for us there. And Ivan has also been working on stability fixes for Dashmate. Okay, let's dive in.
Let's start with Łukasz.
Hi, my name is Łukasz and I'm a developer working right now on Rust SDK. So basically on the screen you can see what parts are involved in this whole process. So basically we are developing 4 items, 4 crates in Rust from scratch, which are more or less reusing what we already did, but their goal is to expose functionalities in a more user or developer friendly way. Our primary users, as some mentions, are Android and iOS developers who work on our apps. So the idea is that they will use some C bindings to access and to use the SDK features. And basically that the 2 main components we are working on right now are as a DAPI client that is meant to support connectivity with our distributed API, and RS Drive proof verifier that will verify proofs, both in terms of proofs generated by GrowthDB and from the consensus engine, which is standard Dash. So the idea here is that every piece of information that the SDK user gets will be verified using the proof verification process. And at this point, on the next slide, we will see that we are working on a few items that are just beginning of that. first of all, we do the like client proof verification, which is in progress. I would say it's in QA, but it just needs some testing. And we had to extend our gRPC interfaces with some block ID and some other proof information to be able to deliver the full proof verification on the client without access to the platform itself or to the drive internals. We also need to do some C bindings, which are in progress. And we work on that in cooperation with the mobile team, namely Vladimir from mobile team. And we also are developing that DAPI client, which will support the transport layer. And as part of this whole effort, we are testing and adding missing gRPC endpoints. So that's side task from the SDK perspective, but I believe it gives much value to the project, right? That the DAPI gRPC endpoints have some users who are testing them. We as developers are basically using that and testing that they work correctly. If not, then we work with the team and we fix any issues we can find, like some missing endpoints and stuff like that. And I think that's pretty much it on my side. So this will definitely take at least, I think, more than one sprint to finalize. Yeah, that's it.
Thank you very much. Let's move on with Dashmate. Ivan, would you kick us off with Dashmate?
Yes, thank you. Hello, everyone. This sprint, we also focused on the Dashmate. This is a tool what we shipped together with version 19 of Core to set up your node, even node or master node or even full node for different networks, including mainnet. And this sprint, we were more focused on the stability of this product and specifically on the end-to-end tests. Those tests are testing some scenarios, what I would say most popular scenarios of usage. So, for example, to start a testnet node, restart it and stop, or the same for the local network, or set up a even node for the testnet, things like this. And those tests wasn't perfect. There were some flaky issues, so we had to do some fixes on the Dashmate level first, some refactorings. For example, we are allowed to build automatically when you start a Dashmate, build automatically DAPI drive, Dashmate helper, and other services what we're using for the node. Build the Docker images automatically from the source. This functionality existed already, but on this sprint we made it configurable independently from each other, so you can set like build me only the helper and or build only DAPI. So it was required for the tests, because in tests we need to build helper all the time, but we don't need to build other stuff. I should go faster. Balázs.
No, it wasn't a nudge. It wasn't a nudge.
Okay.
It was me misclicking.
Okay, anyways. Yeah, it was some refactorings. There was, we also tested the bug, but was very annoying during all this, I would say even years of using local network for Dashmate, is the setup for the development and testing what we're using when Dashmate set up the several masternodes for you on your local machine. And this process wasn't stable enough, I would say, just because of priority, because this functionality is more like internal and using only by developers. And sorry, I got a call. Using mostly by developers, so we didn't pay much attention to it. And now we figured out that sometimes VPN, if you have your local VPN started, it could interfere with Docker networking. So the setup process won't work for you. That's what I experienced in my machine and other people. So if you have such problem, you probably should just turn off your VPN temporarily to set up the network. Yeah, that's about it. So now tests are passing. End-to-end tests, they're stable. So we did like 10 runs in a row. They passed without any problems. So I guess we can continue to work on other stuff. Thank you.
Thank you. Let's continue with Anton.
Wait a second. Okay, hello everybody, Anton's here. I'm gonna be quite brief today. So I've been busy with Masternode voting, which is already, I think I've explained in details previously on the previous review. And as Sam mentioned on the overview, that it's almost done. I'm wrapping up some integrations for this functionality, and then it's going to be finished. And again, a quick summary of what it is and what it's doing for some people who may be actually new or haven't seen the previous update. So Masternode voting is the concept. So you can set up for your data contract when you create a data contract that you want masternodes to vote on to allow or disallow creation of some sort of document in your contract. And that is needed for Dashpay, for not for Dashpay, for the DPNS usernames. So for high value usernames, when we launch platform on the first epoch, all the usernames will be voted on to prevent squatting in the first epoch, which is around first 2 weeks since the platform launch. And so during that initial first 2 weeks, we want only approved usernames to be registered. And by approved, we mean that I go to the network, I say, hey, I'm Anton. I want to register a username Anton. Here's the proof that that's me. Please vote for me. And then Masternode owners, if they wish, they can vote for me. And then if the vote happened and it was successful, I get the username. Or if nobody decided to vote at all, for example, then the first person who tried to register username after this first initial stage, voting stage has passed, can register it. So yeah, that was a brief overview of this functionality and a small recap of what has been done. And I'm giving the word back to you guys.
I have a question for you, Tom.
Yes, sure.
I think I know the answer, but with this platform voting, we'll also be able to do governance voting if we wanted to, like, for example, decision proposal. Correct?
Oh, yeah, of course. And I think with this, it's even better in a sense that right now, if you want to create a proposal, you have to like place one dash for example, so we don't spam proposals. And with this, we can create some sort of forum where people can just create votes for, I don't know, for different decisions that do not really affect the protocol, and people just want to know the opinion of Masternode on some topic, or just to, well, I mean, there's a lot of possibilities what we can do with this. So it's just a matter of like what we actually decide to do with this functionality later on. Right now, as with the first iteration, that's going to be enabled just for the usernames.
Yeah, exactly. So like this feature is quite powerful. It gives like a lot of DAO capabilities on platform for contract builders. But yeah, I just don't want people to think like to not realize how cool this feature is. And yep, cool. So let's continue on with
Dima.
With me.
you.
Yeah, hello everyone. Yeah, thank you. Hello everyone, I'm Dmitry. Well, on past sprint, we worked on the stability of the Dashmate platform. So, and we created new version of TenderDash with the 13, especially because of we had some breaking changes in the protocol interaction between ABCI and TenderDash. And yeah, and this task about to support the breaking changes on a platform side. So this is the first thing which we did. Another one, we add the wait for I would say feature for waiting for Dash core when the Dash core will be ready to handle the request, because of when the TenderDash starts, the TenderDash has some connection to the external services, and one of them is Dash core. So, and when we connect to the Dash core, and if the Dash core is in the progress of synchronization, then the TenderDash crashes and restarted it again. So we fixed this behavior, and we start waiting for when Dash core will be ready to handle our request. Otherwise, for some kind of edge cases, we can crash it as well. And the last thing in this list, we worked on the return of, I would say that is kind of return result of the verification data contract. So actually, we had we returned the error if we don't have the contract in our proof for the proof. So, but with this task, we fixed this behavior. Well, let's go to the next slide. State sync, right? Yeah. For those who don't know what is the state synchronization, TenderDash supports two ways of replication data in network. So the first one is block synchronization. Is pretty slow because in this case we need to download block by block from the network and apply them. In order to improve this process and speed up it, the TenderDash offers to use state synchronization. Instead of using the loading block by block, we can download the whole state and apply it on our side. And the download block by block only the remain chain in the network. Yes, but in order to handle this way of synchronization, we need to implement some ABCI methods based on the protocol on our side as well, an ABCI application. And yes, but the first task which we applied is about to support compatibility with the group DB, because the initial protocol of state synchronization doesn't fit for us. And for this, we need to be able to handle some data which provide through the new version of protocol. So, and the first item is about to support some requirements on the Tender Dash side, which should be covered by GrooveDB. So next item is about state sync protocol message in APCI drive. Since we have the same protocol version between the Tender Dash and Drive APCI application, we have some kind of shared files which we also have to update when we have a new version of protocol. So in this task is about this. And the last item in this list is about the offer snapshot method, which is implemented on protocol side, on APCI application, which recently was unblocked by GrooveDB. So, and with this task, we added new method in order to handle one of the methods based on the protocol of state synchronization. Yeah, I'm done. Thank you.
Hey guys.
Wisdom.
Yeah. So on the GrooveDB side, we have been focused on state sync. For offer snapshot, we needed to implement a wipe method on GrooveDB. So basically, you could have a node that is replicating from a particular snapshot, and then for whatever reason, we decide to replicate from a different snapshot. In that case, we would need to clean the database and then start the replication afresh from the new snapshot because of the chunks will be different and the data will be different. So in order to do this, we needed to implement a wipe method on the GrooveDB side, but then we had an interesting constraint whereby we couldn't consume GrooveDB and we didn't have a mutable reference to GrooveDB. So we just had an immutable reference. So this was kind of tricky, and we spent quite some time trying to figure out how to do this. We tried tons and tons of solutions, but then we ended up just going with a simple approach just to unblock everybody. So we had like an iterator just remove the data from GrooveDB. So this is still subject to change in the future, but right now it's good enough. Then on the state sync for GrooveDB, we have Merc. So Merc works now in the sense that we can generate random chunks from a Merc tree and apply the random chunks to perform complete replication. Then on the GrooveDB side, we can also do random chunk generation. Currently, we're working on the chunk application. And then after that, the next thing will be orchestrating the entire state sync flow. So in terms of like keeping tracks of all the Merc trees that need to be replicated and then generating the next instructions for how you will do this. Also, while keeping everything efficient and both time efficient and memory efficient in the sense that you don't want to keep too many handled Merc trees opened. So this is the plan for the future sprint. So yeah, that's it from the GrooveDB side.
Thank you
Thanks
very
a lot.
much.
And on to versioning. My dear friend. Oh, how I've missed thinking about you for the last 30 minutes. Okay, so there's good news, and the good news is drive versioning is 100% done. All the tests are passing. The integration work is completely done. So we have three main components, right? So we have drive, DPP, and drive ABCI. Those three things need to get versioned. Drive, done. We strike through, all done. Now let's move on to the next one. ABCI versioning. Now we had a lot of ABCI versioning already done. What we didn't have done were the data triggers and integration work. So integration work was around 45% last time. Now I would estimate that it's around 75%. And data triggers basically was done. Ivan worked on them, so thank you, Ivan. but the main bulk of the work, actually, there were two big bulks of work. The lot in Drive to get Drive done, and then a lot in DPP. So let's go to the next one. So here, a lot of things are much closer to, we're very close to actually being finished. The balances are done, data contracts versioning is done, document versioning is done, state transition are all done. Validation, we're not done yet. We still have some aspects of validation that we have to review and fix. And one thing that wasn't on here last time that I really should have put on was the serialization and deserialization of pretty much everything. And this was extremely complicated to get done. Why? Because serialization and deserialization wasn't the structure of the object isn't always the same structure as what you serialize and you store. And I knew this problem, and for a while, I mean, it's not new. I've been working on it. However, the libraries that we are using don't actually support on-the-fly changes to the serialization based off of like a version, or like deserializing a structure from multiple underlying deserializing into a structure for multiple serializations. It wasn't supported. So that's being built, very close to being done. The serialization is now complete. I finished that a few minutes before the review. I've been working on this very, very heavily. So I just cannot wait to get versioning done. Right now, the PR is around, I don't even remember, like probably 90,000 lines of code. We were at somewhere around 50 to 60 last time, 2 weeks ago, and it's just been it's torment. So I hate saying soon, but we're getting close. We're getting on. We have probably fixed over, between all the different projects, probably fixed over 2,000 compilation errors. Now, these compilation errors are just like small things like, a borrow checker here. I mean, not always, but there's since we've refactored pretty much everything, there was a lot of stuff to fix. When I say Drive has been done, it's not just compilation has been done, it's tests have also been done, and everything is working as before. Since the logic really didn't change, we're not actually seeing any logical bugs. We just need to get the thing compiling again, and then everything is smooth. Okay, let's go on. So, I forgot to write the new number, but I did check. Everything's fine with Absinthe. So the version is stable. The V25 is stable. We just need to get a final version out there. Okay. What's left to do? So versioning, we've been talking about that. I added some percentages here so people could see where we're kind of at. Very, very tough. Data contract bounds, again, was already kind of written. I'm adding 30% because we're going to have to migrate that into versioning. And I'm sure that's going to take a day or two. Finalization of withdrawals, we haven't started the finalization. Of course, we've done withdrawals. Withdrawals are all working, but we need to play with it. And I do expect that to take about a week. And then Masternode voting, as Anton has said, is finishing up. And we have the fee cost tweaking. This is basically just going through all the numbers, making sure our costs make sense. It hasn't started. That's going to be during the testing phase. I keep on repeating myself, but it's just a quick update. State sync, we've heard from people today. I asked them what percentage they think they're done with state sync. They think they're around 60%. So state sync was originally something that was going to be a post MVP. We were going to have it most likely pre-MVP, because it makes sense that they're working on that. I didn't include the Rust SDK here, mostly because the Rust SDK wasn't originally part of the roadmap of platform. It was more on the roadmap of the mobile, but we can't. It doesn't take what is the expression? 9 women can't have a child in 1 month or something like that. So we can't put everybody on versioning. It wouldn't really speed up the process. So, okay. With that, let me give it to the core team. Thank you very much, guys.
Hello.
Hello.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
All right. We are counting 32 EVA nodes registered today. We are also preparing a v19.3 release probably for the next week. A very minor release, although it still includes some fixes. So yeah, probably next week it will be released. Regarding v20 development, so decentralized randomness is done. Asset logs, we are happy to announce that this PR was merged. I think it was yesterday. So a big step for v20. Under review are both Masternode reward, location reallocation, and reduction of payment from 4 blocks in a row to 1 block in a row for even nodes. So a quick reminder: this was introduced in v19 to for the EVA nodes, but since the reward is going to platform, we needed to go back in the old way. GUIX is still in progress. Enhanced hard fork also in progress, and we are starting also to integrate Sentinel into core. The plan is to deprecate completely the Sentinel and have it integrated into core. Those are the points regarding v20 developments. Pasta, anything to add or correct me?
Eventually? Yeah, no, that was right on. Yeah, we're really excited to get asset locks merged in. That has been in development and existed as a concept for quite a while now. So we're really excited to finally get that merged in to develop. At this point, we are pretty much ready to do move forward with DevNet testing. Right now, we're really just waiting for versioning to be ready. And as soon as that is ready, we'll be pushing out to DevNets and testing v25 of platform and v20 of core together. You can take a look at the list of PRs down at the bottom there if you're more interested in what exactly was merged this week, and go through those and look at all of the cool stuff happening. So 19.3 really just includes some relatively small bug fixes. There were some people running into issues where their Masternode wouldn't got kind of stuck in a boot loop where it kept complaining about a empty settings.json. And so we've implemented fix there that should resolve that issue. And there are a couple other kind of minor fixes and improvements included in 19.3. All right, I think core is done. We can move forward with questions.
All right, let's move forward with questions. I see questions regarding the versioning, and Sam already answered some of those. Sam, do you want to elaborate on it further, or do you think you...
No, I'll say it out loud. So, Pshemik, will versioning help handle platform network upgrades, and how will it look like in the future releases? For example, merging major platform versions require L2 network wipe right now. Yeah, I mean, we're obviously on mainnet, we will never wipe, knock on wood. Yeah, the point of versioning is to allow any code path that has ever existed in your code to always be reproducible, and to do it in such a way that makes it extremely easy for developers to not make a mistake, right? So, oh, sorry, I forgot to start my video. Yeah, sorry about that. Yeah, so as I was saying, it's very easy when you're dealing with the complexity of, you know, so many different code paths, so much coupling between one function calling another function, that you might change one thing one place and not understand that it has ramifications somewhere else. With the versioning method that we have, we basically separate all the functionality of platform minus Grove DB, which is kind of a little worrying, but I think we have a plan for that too, into like parts that we can basically advance on. So let's imagine that one part of code, what can one part of code do? Ivan, I'm having a blank. Give me some code that we write, some function, anything in our app.
Okay, queries for the drive. Okay.
Okay, so a drive query, right? That allows us to search for some information from drive. Now, this is a user-facing query, but you can also use drive queries internally. Let's imagine that the cost of a drive query changes and it becomes cheaper in the future. Well, when we replay the block, the client that we have has to be able to replay the block in consensus forever, right? So it always has to know the cost of a specific thing in the past. So it always has to keep all the information to be able to replay everything exactly perfectly for all time, which is kind of a hard requirement to meet. And to do this, to make it so easy that basically it's really hard to mess up, we split all the methods in the app into like these chunks, and we version each one of these chunks, and we make sure that it has very little coupling with other parts of the app. And by reducing the coupling, we basically solve a lot of issues. Anyways, so that's basically it, guys. I'm really very, very happy about how this is. If I had to do this again, I wouldn't, just because it's been hell, but we're almost there. I have another question. What is possible with data triggers right now? Is it possible to modify document data, or is it only possible to be used for access validation? So document triggers are kind of, I mean, Ivan could say more on this, but Ivan, correct me if I'm wrong, but they're basically a way for us to get around not having smart contracts for now. They add extra logic to the data contracts that we need so we can give a more advanced functionality on just a subset of data contracts that are needed. Is that correct, Ivan?
That's how they're using right now, but the eventual idea is that the concept that even if you're using data contract, I mean using the simple state structure definition without writing Solidity or like writing the code for smart contract, you will be still able to use data contracts. But if you need some additional custom validation, you will be able to use data triggers. So it's like small custom functions that you will be able to attach to data contracts on specific events. For example, if this document is updated, like or created, please do this additional validation, because not all cases, use cases can be covered by JSON schema validation logic, because sometimes you need to do things like, okay, you should be able to add this blog post only in case if this category exists, for example, or things like this, or you want to multiply the fields, right? But you don't want to create the whole contract, smart contract for this. So you need just like small custom validation logic attached to a data contract. So that's where data contracts are. It's like, you know, the storing procedures in databases. It's like simple functions what you can attach to your data model, basically, for additional validation.
Thanks, Ivan.
Thank you very much.
Okay, so we have a question. When do we expect Evo to be out on mainnet? Ooh, the when Evo. Do you believe it will be this year? Well, yes, I do believe it will be this year, but I've been terrible with my estimations. I really apologize for that. I want this to be over. You know, I'm also extremely invested in this project, so I want this to be over. I mean, not the project, but I want us to release as quick as possible. But, you know, when I look at the code, I also want it to work. I don't want it to, you know, not work, right, when we release. And or situations happen that, you know, we release and then it can't be upgraded. So we are getting closer. And I hope that these reviews do show our progress.
All right. We have a question about any information from Sergey. Any information about bridges between Dash and other networks?
So this is more of a, I guess this is a when Maya question. I don't have any information. I have as much information.
Maybe it's a question about the ability for platform to create the bridges later on, IBC.
Oh yeah, inter-blockchain communication. Well, we haven't really advanced much on that. What we need for inter-blockchain communication is not so much for us to be able to understand other blockchains, which we can do at this point quite easily. It's more about other blockchains to be able to understand Dash. And for other blockchains to be able to understand Dash, we have to, you know, contact the blockchains in question, mostly Tendermint, and we have to include code there so they can understand signatures from the Dash network that are BLS signatures. One of the reasons why in v19.2 we worked really hard on BLS signatures is for this path forward, so we can have inter-blockchain communication with other projects. And for that, we needed to basically use the standard BLS library that the network, that most of the crypto world is now using.
Thank you very much. Next question from Varun. How will devs/users utilize platform when it's on first mainnet, and what are the upcoming plans to expand the utilization for devs/users?
So I believe the first, we can see it kind of with Incubator. The types of applications that are possible for before we have smart contracts do exist. Like, for example, you could, I was about to say something, but I'm a little bit afraid to say it on air.
Then don't say.
A social network. You could make a social network. There we go. That doesn't, I mean, that it's mostly just like, pushing data and pulling data, right? Creating friend requests, contact requests, stuff like that. And yeah, for the things that we're doing to help improve developer access, we had a JavaScript SDK, and yes, as you guys can see, we're starting to work on a Rust SDK. We're also making it more uniform with C bindings that can be used in C for iOS, for Android, and maybe for Core later on for C++.
All right, thank you very much. Can someone please reverse the timeline for the Dash roadmap webpage so we can see the most recent targets first?
I've asked many times. Does somebody else want to try to like harass people to do this? I heard that it was a very hard problem for some reason, but I don't know why.
I'm open to nudge.
Josh, you want to go annoy people?
Yes. Yeah. I wouldn't call it annoy. I wouldn't say annoying, but nudge.
Nudge.
Yes.
We'll nudge people. Thanks,
Yes.
Hillary.
Do you agree with the stabilization of Dash in order for it to become a digital cash?
Do you agree with this?
Is it a price stabilization? Or
I think that's what they asked. No, I believe that the market decides these things, and the market can decide whatever the market wants to decide. So I don't believe in interventionism in any form to try to stabilize prices. But I guess that was just a personal question asked of me.
all right. I don't see any further questions. I see some comments. Thank you. The platform is working pretty rough in testnet, by the way. All right. Shamnik, maybe you can elaborate that in Slack.
Yeah, it's V20. We know.
All right, thank you. I see no further questions. So thanks everybody for joining today for the update. And thank you for the questions and the comments and the feedbacks. And see you in 2 weeks.